So in this video we're going to be going through 10 financial tips I wish someone had told me sooner. Do you ever wonder about how differently your financial situation would have panned out if someone had maybe had a different set of information when you made a decision? I know I do. Maybe you would have saved more, invested more wisely, avoided getting into debt. It's never too late to learn and avoid these mistakes in future. These are tips that I've either learned through personal experience, from friends and family, or from financial experts. Follow these tips and you'll be well on your way to financial success. I'm a former investment analyst and I'm taking the lessons I learned investing other people's money and applying them to my own finances. First is make your money work for you. Now, in Rich Dad Poor Dad, a book which I will always recommend on this channel, the key thing that separates the rich dad from the poor dad is that the rich dad understands that they have to make their money work for them. They have to have invested in either cash flowing or value appreciating assets. Some examples might be real estate, stocks, shares, bonds, websites, side hustles, businesses, online digital products. But you don't have to be a super duper entrepreneur, you don't have to have the next new thing, but what you can do is just be investing. Personally, I invest in low-cost index fund. I buy a single share in an index fund and it buys a small piece of every company that sits within that particular index. It offers the vast majority of the gain and diversified risk. You own a piece of real estate that turns you a profit. Use that profit to buy some shares. Those shares pay you a dividend and you're getting your real estate money. And so this is just the key. You're making your money work for you. And that brings me nicely on to the next step, compound interest. So the key principle when it comes to compound interest is you have money invested in an account or in a stock or in a share or in a bond, and that initial principle earns you interest. But the effect of compounding really is where you start to earn interest on top of that interest. And so what you see is this nice rocket ship that will take you all the way to financial freedom. And really this is a fundamental part, a really key issue when it comes to building wealth. And one of the key things with compound interest is that the longer you give it to work, the more of the heavy lifting that it does. This is something we talk about a lot on this channel. And so when you start to understand how compound interest works, one of the key things that you'll realize is it's better to start little and often early than it is to try and finish strong. Saving for retirement is a prime example. You only need to put a small amount away each month in order to retire comfortably, rather than waiting until you're in your 50s and having to chuck vast sums of money to make sure you've got enough saved for retirement. Passive income. So passive income is income that you earn by not having to actively trade your time in exchange for money. You go to a 9-to-5 job and then at the end of the month you get paid for it. Simple as. Passive income is basically where there isn't necessarily that direct relationship. And so what you ultimately find is that your income has to be scalable. A good example is I decided to try and become a wedding photographer at the beginning of 2020, and then something happened which meant no weddings could go on. Who knows? What a dark time in our lives that was. But what I ultimately realised is that that's not passive income. It's just a side hustle. It's just an alternative source of income. So I decided to put them onto stock photography websites, and now I can get paid every time those images are used. And it's something I don't even have to worry about. I've taken the photos already, so they're just earning me income in the background. Now, passive income is hard to come by. If you can't set up passive income, that's fine. As a starting point, just having a side hustle can be a really good first step. Focus on building your salary when you're young. Now, early on in your career and when you're a teenager or when you're in your early 20s, this is really a key time to be investing in your career and making sure that you're growing your salary. And that's just because a small gain there, compounded over time, can make a big difference to your overall life earnings. And ultimately, higher earnings will lay the groundwork. They will set the foundation for financial independence later on in your life. And this could be through a whole plethora of different opportunities. This could be making sure you're negotiating every time your pay comes up to review. Video about that here. It can be pursuing opportunities within the organisation, outside the organisation. It could be professional qualifications. It can be improving some of your soft skills. Your 20s are also grand, and not having lots of responsibilities can be kind of nice. So that doesn't necessarily, I'm not saying you have to work every hour God sends. I think it's perfectly reasonable to enjoy your 20s as well. But balance. Balance is key. Budgeting is critical. A budget is basically just a plan for how your money is going to come in and go out. Simple as. And for me, a budget does three main things. The first thing is it keeps your spending in check and helps you avoid debt. Helps you to build an emergency fund so that if you have an unexpected expense, you don't have to dip into your savings. For me, the most important one is it helps make sure you're achieving your financial goals. If you want to retire at a certain age with a certain amount in your pension pot, that is informed by your budget, and your budget should be focused around that. Investing in your financial education. The more you know about money, the better equipped you are to make informed financial decisions. There are a plethora of resources available, some paid, some free. This particular channel is free. Make sure you subscribe to help you improve your financial education. But all jokes aside, I think once you're in a position where you really understand why you're making these financial decisions, for me, that is really the key component that is often missing from people's financial education. They're putting money into a savings account, but they don't really understand why they're doing it. They're putting money into a pension, but they don't understand why. Once you understand concepts like compounding, once you understand concepts like opportunity cost, you're in a situation where you see the full and complete picture. You don't just see these little silos that are moving aimlessly and meandering around. You understand that they are fulfilling your longer term financial goals. The best investment is yourself. This was career advice that I got when I was 20 or 19 or something. Boss who I was working for at the time, finish university and go away and get a professional qualification, lawyer, accountant, something like that. And so that's what I did. I studied to become an accountant. Now don't get me wrong, studying in the evenings, weekends, some of it was just absolute purgatory at times, but it's something that I really don't regret having done, having contributed all that time to it, because it set me up for other aspects of my career. And now I still work in finance. I'm not an accountant anymore, but I work in a finance related field, and so just having that solid base really helps act as a springboard for the rest of my career. Building those skills earlier on is just, it can really be invaluable, and once you get older it can be much more difficult to do. Salaries are always negotiable. You know, if you've been offered a job, congrats, things are tough, but always ask for more money. And I think the temptation can often be to ask for more money and they say no, and to not be persistent with it now. But I think there are other things that you can look at. For me, commuting into the office is kind of expensive, so I just asked to work more days from home. By effectively not having to go into the office as much, it is effectively a pay increase. So there are all sorts of other things that you can look at. Maybe it's paid time off, maybe it's vacation days, maybe it's working from home, maybe it's finishing early on Fridays. Just pitch it out there. You know, firm believer right here of don't ask, don't get. But when it comes to negotiating, I think there are 4 key factors. The first is the position that you're going for. The second is the company. A vast conglomerate has way more money to pay you more. Your individual skills and experience, again, if you've built those up, you're in a much stronger negotiating position. And the current job market. Unfortunately, if the job market is crummy, the employer potentially has a bit more leverage. But I would recommend reading Gavin Kennedy's book. And the last one, probably the most important one as far as I'm concerned, is enjoy your money. What's the old thing? You can't take it with you. I think it's perfectly reasonable to work hard, to make a decent amount of money, to have achieved your financial goals, and then to just enjoy it. I've no interest in retiring at 30 but then needing to live in a hole under the ground or something. As we always talk about on this channel, the key thing that you've got to be looking at is making sure the value that you're getting it, whether it's happiness, whether it's enjoyment, whether it's time saved, needs to be at least equivalent to the money that you're pitching up for it, and if you can afford it. I'm a firm believer on this channel that you shouldn't give up the little things that you enjoy if they don't cost very much, because they are little things, and getting on the property ladder, really expensive, so it's not worth it. Just enjoying the money that you earn, but not letting it compromise your overall longer term financial goals. Oh, one more. You don't always need to be frugal. This sounds similar to the previous point, but it's not quite the same. I think the key thing really is to understand that there are things that are worth spending money on. These might be professional services, maybe you pay an accountant, it costs you a couple of £100, but they save you more than that in saved tax, for example. That's a worthwhile thing to spend your money on. And so understanding the things that are worth spending a bit of extra money on in order to get slightly better value, I think is a really important skill. We had to get home insurance because we had a leaking tap, and I was very fortunate that I'd not necessarily gone for the cheapest home insurance, and basically guy came out, fixed it, cut in the roof, mess everywhere. Insurance company covered it because I'd gone for slightly more expensive insurance. Another good example where I was cheap, I got the cheapest car insurance I could. I didn't get breakdown cover, and then my car broke down on the way to work, and it was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So I had to pay £450 to get towed back home. Nuts, insane stuff. So just really weigh these things up and see, again, is the value that you're getting roughly equivalent to the price that you're getting? So thanks very much for watching. We have another series coming out on lessons they didn't teach you at school. We're going to go through financial lessons. We've got a video about personal skills they don't teach you at schools. We've got loads of content coming out, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of it. Thanks very much for watching. This has been another episode of Modern Money Talk, where we talk all things personal finance, personal development related. What do you think we've missed? Comment below, and if you've enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Peace out.